right, here's the ideal matchup for Major League Baseball.
Okay.
For the good of the sport, the Cubs in the World Series against the Yankees.
Well,
if I can make that happen with my magic wand, would you, for ratings, publicity?
We'd take that matchup. That'd be a great matchup for the game. But I think there's other ones. I think the Cubs in Toronto would be really interesting. Be nice to have. Canada is really important to us. I think if you had the Cubs and the Blue Jays, you probably have two countries pretty fully engaged. Be good for us. We're fortunate this year. We have a nice mix of, kind of iconic franchises, big markets, and some really interesting stories out there. So I'm really looking forward to the postseason.
Have you thought about expanding into Mexico?
We have talked about Mexico a lot. As a matter of fact, I'm going to Mexico next week. We think Mexico is a tremendous opportunity for us. Baseball's strong in their culture. A lot of players. We think that having a team in Mexico would probably help us with the Hispanic market domestically. So, yeah, a lot of interest in Mexico.
But are you going to expand? Are you thinking of expanding?
Well, let me say this. We have a couple of franchises that are working on stadium issues. I think those need to be resolved first. But over a longer term, without putting a specific time on it, we see baseball as a growth business, and growth businesses expand. So I'd like to see us get to 32. 32 does a lot for us from a scheduling perspective.
Yeah.
Those nice even numbers work well. So it's something that I think, without putting a definitive time frame on it, will be on the table for baseball.
What about Las Vegas?
Las Vegas, I think, is part of a larger evolution of the relationship between sports and legalized gaming. I think that whether Las Vegas is viable or not depends on how that evolution proceeds. Commissioner Silver has been very articulate and open about his views. We're having some conversation about those topics internally in baseball, and I think there will be a continuing evolution.
But would you have a problem? What would be your biggest issue with Vegas?
Look, I think the biggest, there are fundamentally, you have to make a decision that the market can support 81 home games. I mean, we are different than other sports just because of the bulk of the home games that are involved. And then, I think that the gambling issue is kind of a secondary issue.
But what if you couldn't gamble on the home team?
Again, I see gambling in two different buckets. I see legalized gambling very, very differently than I do illegal gambling, and its potential for weighing on the game. It does concern me. Having said that, it does concern me that have a sports book that available, that proximate to a major league club.
But you see the day where you can go to a game and actually there'll be a betting window there.
I don't.
European
I really don't.
Soccer?
No, I really don't. I think that. Particularly in baseball, the long history, the entire history, really, of the commissioner's office was about drawing a line between the game and gambling and making sure that the product we put on the field has integrity, and I just don't see us going that far. I really don't.
What did you learn as a commissioner from Deflategate?
Well, I don't like to talk about other sports and their issues. I think that the one thing I will say about Deflategate, I think it's one of those issues that is difficult in all sports. And when you get into issues about what happened on the field and the responsibility of individual players, those are always really, really difficult.
But are you
issues.
judge and jury with Major League Baseball?
No, we have a very different system in baseball. Let me take it to the baseball context because I'll be more comfortable.
You do have a Lord of Discipline, that
right? Well, no,
not the official title, but you do have somebody who is
right,
who has served that role.
But the bigger issue, ultimately, the commissioner always has disciplinary authority in baseball, just like in football. But with respect, the big difference is if we had a situation, let's say a player put something on a baseball during the World Series, I would issue discipline, and that player would have the right to appeal to a neutral third-party arbitrator, depending on the exact nature of the discipline.
But that's where the NFL made their mistake, I think. You can't have the guy who hands out the discipline to be the guy who hears your appeal.
Well, look, that's just the difference in collective bargaining agreements. Our Players Association for a very long time has been strong on the idea of neutral third-party arbitration. NFL made a different deal. I don't know which one's right or wrong. I know that I'm comfortable with our system.
Well, it takes the heat off of you.
Well, it does. I mean, I guess what it does is it allows the player and the public really to have somebody else take a second look at whether or not the discipline for this particular offense was correct. But I don't think you can make a judgment that one is right, one is wrong. A collective bargaining agreement is a package of compromises, and we ended up with a little different package than they did.
He's the commissioner of Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred, joining us. Last time you talked to Bud Selig?
Last time I talked to Bud Selig was a week ago Saturday.
For something to do with the game or just checking in with him?
Well, whenever you talk to Bud Selig, you talk about the game. Let me be absolutely clear about that. I talk to Bud, I would say on average once a week. And he's been extraordinarily helpful to me. He has been the perfect predecessor in the sense that when I speak to him, it is almost always when I call him. He doesn't call and offer. It is when I call him, and we usually run through a set of topics that I'm dealing with, and I found him to be a great source of advice and counsel.
When you see a number come up or a name, and what makes you go, oh no? When you see that number or that name, and you know that you got a problem.
That's interesting. That's a really hard question. The ones that I like the least are the ones with 202s in front of them. That's usually when
Washington, D.C.
Right. One of my favorite.
202 is not good
Right.
unless it's
Right.
Matt Williams calling you.
Well, and it always begins, hello, I'm from the federal government. I'm here to help, and rarely do I feel that way. Yeah, I'm here to help you, Rob. I don't usually.
Of course, they're ready to help you.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back with the commissioner.